was just thinking of it when I was ready.
I did bring the German Shepherd in a whole bunch of times, so they would smell it.
My volume is up.
I'm not able to get into it.
I'm not working. There we go. No, volume off. Remember, yeah, so I don't get the echo. Exactly. So I have it. All right, here we
Thumbs
go.
up from
Boom.
the video.
All right. Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if I could have a motion to approve tonight's agenda for June 24th of 2024.
I have Erica and Kelly.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Open forum. The Greenville Central School District wishes to facilitate public access to meetings of the Board of Education and to provide an opportunity for public comment at these meetings. Accordingly, the open forum provides an opportunity for members of the public to share thoughts about topics on the agenda. An individual's comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Additionally, comments may be emailed to the district clerk, Daphne Pearson, using the email pearsond@greenvillecsd.org. In order for an email to be read during the meeting, it must be received by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting and state that the email is to be read out loud. Emails shall be limited to 600 words. Please note that this is not the time to register complaints that need to be addressed confidentially through the proper channels. Remarks that might be considered defamatory, obscene, profane, stigmatizing, or otherwise impermissible in public forums are prohibited and will be declared out of order. Board members actively listen during open forum, but may not immediately respond to comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Okay, and Daphne,
No.
please.
I would just like to take a moment to publicly recognize Rich Outram and his crew. I cannot believe how many air conditioning units that they were able to install across the buildings over our heat wave last week. Rich, with some help from Todd and the business office, was able to get some additional air conditioning units set in during our heat wave. I also want to thank our faculty and staff for having the patience as they were being put into each classroom. Joe Lopez came into me the other day and brought up a very good point, and he wanted to say thank you for solving this issue, which is going to be a long-term issue with the new legislation that's coming out with heat in the rooms, and the district's commitment to addressing this issue now for the long term. A lot of people went half days, and that was good in the short term. But we did have a lot of events, a lot of things going on that our kids and our teachers planned for. Wanted to make sure that they were able to share in those events. But the work that Rich and his crew did was amazing. So I just wanted to make sure that I thank him publicly and his crew for doing great work. So thank you.
And it was much appreciated by many. So thank you, Rich. Definitely said we do not have any emails.
Correct. None.
Okay, so then I'm going to move us on to our presentation. So the first presentation we have is on New York Cooperative Liquid Asset Security Systems, and Joel Freedom from NY class, if I'm saying it correctly. Welcome.
Thank you.
And if you could just, when you use the microphone, the microphone is more for the recording rather than us. Thank you.
It's on now. So thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate this. So New York class, as you said, New York Cooperative Liquid Asset Security Systems New York class. It's just a cooperative investment program, very much like a money market mutual fund. My background is I worked for Standard & Poor's in New York, where I rated money market funds, bond funds, and all those types of mutual funds for about 25 years. Has anyone heard in your class before? So over 400 school districts now across New York use it. I'm just going to grab some water. Thanks. I have a little cold, not bad, so my voice you're going to hear is a little kind of like froggy. So, sorry. So there's about 400 school districts that use New York Class. And right now, the rate is 5.23%. So what New York Class provides is a lot of things that school districts like, which is daily liquidity. So no matter what your cash flow needs are, you get access to all of your money every day with no transaction fees whatsoever. So let's say, and there's no minimum amount of investment either. So let's say you put in $100,000, $500,000 today, and you wanted to get all that money back in 2 days. You get to actually keep all the interest, take your money out with no transaction fees, no penalties, nothing like that. So it's a completely liquid program for you. So that's one of the key benefits. I'll talk a little bit about the kind of the risk side of it, let's say, so the collateral and everything else, I'm sure you want to hear that, and the safety side. So it is rated AAA by Standard & Poor's New York. Standard & Poor's, as I mentioned, I worked there for 25 years. I used to rate this type of program amongst about 80 different local government investment programs as well, around all the different states. New York actually has the strictest requirement because they require collateral. If it's not treasuries, they require collateral for everything that you purchase. So we can only buy the same exact things as a school district can buy. We can't buy anything different. I know we get asked questions like, can New York Class buy stocks or commodities or anything like that? The answer is no. New York Class can only buy what you can buy, and you can buy treasuries, you can buy collateralized deposits. So they have to be, a deposit with a bank or what's called a repurchase agreement. It must be fully collateralized or more. So at least 100% or even 102%. Everything that we purchase is either collateralized or it's treasuries. We collateralize in a couple different ways, and you probably do the same thing. One is called Federal Home Loan Bank Letter of Credit. So Federal Home Loan Bank is a government agency, and if there was ever a problem with the bank that we were using, the Federal Home Loan Bank will step in same day, or worst case next day if it's after 4 p.m. and pay out all the money. New York Class has never had to use the collateral. It's there for your protection. We started in 1989, has never had to use that collateral. So it's there, if you think about it like insurance. Now, right now, your school district, anytime you put in more than $250,000 with a bank, they also have to collateralize it for you. And they'll do it similarly. They'll do it with like treasuries, in agencies, or with Federal Home Loan Bank. That's pretty much the standard in New York. So that's the sort of safety side. I mentioned it's rated AAA by Standard & Poor's. The average maturity is 60 days or less on all of the securities within there. So it's a really short portfolio in order to get that AAA rating to make sure that your principal is stable and secure. It's also overseen by a board of your peers, and there's up to a 15-member board. There's several counties on the board. There's about 7 or so school districts on the board, and then there's towns and villages and a fire district as well. And they're from all throughout the state, the board members. There is, for example, there's a business official in Saratoga School District that's on the board. And there's Suffolk County, the treasurer there is on the board. And so, all throughout the state. So these are some of the safety parameters. Also, cybersecurity, extremely important to us. We actually have spent millions of dollars on cybersecurity throughout the past few years because we know municipalities and school districts, especially in the state, are vulnerable to getting hacked themselves. So what we do is we actually we hired somebody to head our technology group from a very large institution, but we also kind of use preventative hacking, so as if someone was trying to hack us, and we test it that way as well. And we have not had any situations, but we have a lot of other sort of alternatives if anything happened. We have a custodian bank, who's U.S. Bank. They're the largest bank, I'm sorry, top 10 bank in the U.S. And what they do is they hold all the assets. Does anybody have any questions on like the safety aspect?
Not yet, keep talking, because we usually will ask questions as you go along.
Okay. So I mentioned a little bit, that's the safety. I mentioned a little bit about the liquidity. Oh, on the safety side, one more thing. We do issue a monthly collateral statement. So everybody gets that collateral statement. Usually the auditors are pretty familiar with the funds as well. Like I said, since there's over 400 school districts, there's not that many right now in your county. However, I did give you guys a list in the back. So you can see in Albany County, there's about school districts, 6 school districts that use your class. In Greene County, there's 2, Catskill and Coxsackie Athens. And Columbia County, there are 2 as well, Hudson City School District and Taconic Hills, just to give you an idea. Some of the other counties will have, anywhere from 8 to 10 or more school districts that use New York class. Some of the other benefits, we have a client service team that's there every business day from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. so that any questions that your treasurer might have, and they would either call, they would email. The money, as I mentioned before, is completely liquid. The way it works is just like an online savings account, where you put your money in, let's say you put it in today, and tomorrow you decided, I want my $1 million back. For whatever reason, you have to make a payroll, whatever it is. If you do a wire, you'll get your money before, you put it in before noon the next day, you'll get your wire by about 12:30 the same day. If it's an ACH, that's the next day. So you have to wait about 24 hours if it's an ACH. So, but you still get your money back. It's liquid. Like I said, no transaction fees. As I mentioned, I didn't mention this yet, but the fees, the way the fees work is New York class charges an average of about 13 basis points, so 0.13%. And that is taken off the gross yield. So today's yield was 5.23%. That's what you actually get. So every participant, every municipality, every school district will get that 5.23. It doesn't matter if you had a real small amount, a few $1,000s, or hundreds of millions of dollars. You get 5.23. 5.36, if I did my math right, is about 13 basis points. So that is what our treasuries and our other deposits are yielding. So when you subtract the two, 5.36 minus the 5.23, that is the fee that we're taking, 0.13%. So for example, if your bank is paying you 5%, they might be taking 30 or 40 basis points, 0.3, 0.4. If they're paying you 4%, they're taking over 1%. That's just how it works. And again, we're pretty large now, so it's over $12 billion in assets just in New York class. So there's economies of scale there as well. So the more money that comes into the program, the more you guys all benefit as well. So that's it for the fees. You don't get any bills from us. We started in 1989 and never sent out a bill for any of the services. So a few of the other things that school districts really like is the unlimited sub-accounts. So what that means is that if you wanted to do, let's say, a general fund, and then you had a scholarship fund or other types of construction project, you can put all that in your class, segregated, so that you get basically all of your accounting done for you in each account, and there's a report done for you. It's an audit-ready report. I think I mentioned, but there's no minimum investment required at all. We do compound and pay every day. So again, if you were to take your money out in a few days, you get all that interest. We do have professional managers that would average over 20 years portfolio management experience, and they manage the fund for all the municipalities. And there's about 1,400 or so there's quite a bit of participants now.
Just a couple of quick questions. You mentioned a AAA, the S&P report, as well as your auditors. Who are the auditors?
Hold on a second, because we switched it not too long ago. I'll get back to you on that. I want to make sure I get it right.
Absolutely. And can we see the latest?
Oh, absolutely. I can send you the audit report.
Okay. And let's see, you mentioned that there's no minimum amount. Is there a minimum length of time that the school is required to maintain the money in?
Yeah, great question. There's no contract whatsoever. There is, in order to join, you would have to pass a resolution. We give a sample resolution. There is no minimum length. So if you decided to, after a week, a month, 2 days, whatever, you didn't want to use it anymore, you can just take your money out, keep the account open if you wanted to, and not use it. During the pandemic, people did that. Some people took the money out because interest rates were so low with everybody. Ours were a few basis points, banks were a couple basis points. So they might have moved the money out. They kept their account open just in case they did, used it, and then they did use it again when rates went up. But there is no minimum length of time.
Is there an entry fee, exit fee?
There is no fee to get in and no fee to get out.
Looks like most of your investments, like you mentioned, are U.S. Treasuries. You just on a rolling basis with those?
Yeah. So
With $12 billion, I can see it's going in and out, and that's how you're making money, right?
So the way we're making money is by the 13 basis points.
Right.
The average, yeah. So, but you're right, we'll buy treasuries out as far as a year even. They'll roll down. Now, obviously, you can only buy a real small amount going out a year because the average maturity has to be 60 days or less, so that's really short. But all they do is they'll roll down, and then when they renew, we might only buy 3-month or 6-month, depending on sort of where the value is. And
Joel,
what the liquidity needs are.
on your website, on that now, you're only showing the last 2 years, last 1 year maybe even, of how your performance has been.
You can actually run.
Yeah, does it go longer?
Oh, yeah, so I think it goes out 10 years.
Because I want to see what the down years look like.
Sure, and you'll see it during the pandemic. Like I said, the Fed was yielding 0 to 25. Banks were paying 0 to whatever, and that's about where we were. We were like anywhere from 4 to 30 basis points depending.
You have any advice on with schools or experience, maybe not advice, but experience on once we get down the road, if we choose to do this, as far as budgeting the income, as based on past performance?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the best way to do it really is to see what do you think interest rates will be doing. We follow the Fed pretty closely. If you take a look, like I said, you looked at the past year, look at when the Fed raised rates. We follow really closely. So you'll see that 2 years ago, when the Fed, it was March actually, when they started raising rates, our rates were maybe 10 or 25 basis points, whatever it was. But once the Fed raised, we went up to that next 25 or 75. They raised sometimes really quickly, within weeks, and sometimes overnight. Part of it because the amount that's liquid overnight will, change daily. So when you're budgeting, you kind of want to look at, is the Fed, a year from now going to be at 4.5%? So that's the kind of thing that you would look at as well. I mean, I can help you with that, with the district, but, we're not going to have a crystal ball. We're not going to make a recommendation based on where we think interest rates will be. But we're happy to say, here's, like right now, everyone expects the Fed to lower rates once or twice this year, right? I know, it may never even happen, right? And then maybe 0. So depends on if you want to err on the conservative, and if you do, you want to stay. I mean, these rates will not move much if the Fed doesn't lower. They might start to factor in that the Fed is going to start lowering rates. So you might see a one-year treasury go down to 4.5, 1.75. We're buying that, but we're also keeping liquid money at 5.25, 5.3. So the average might be over 5% still. You know, so.
So if you have a ladder going on these treasuries,
We do.
right, you must be able to predict for at least a year.
We don't try to.
Yeah.
We're just going to ladder them out.
Right.
And then we're going to, you know, buy enough overnight all the time to make sure we have plenty of liquidity. Right now, school districts are taking their money out, right? So they need it for payroll for the summer and everything. So there's a lot of school districts now that we have over 400. You'll see a good amount of money coming in, out. Then come end of September into October, and even early November, a lot of money comes in. We'll have, you know, many hundreds of millions of dollars coming into the program. So at that point, we can start buying some more treasuries again, and, you know, go out a few months knowing that money will stay for a while.
Is this strictly your clients for a term to use? Are they just all government based?
And they have to be under general.
If you already said that, I apologize.
No problem. Yeah, so the only ones that can be in this program are municipalities, school districts, so fire districts, towns, villages, cities, counties, school districts.
I'm trying to figure out how you balance it out with
So it's,
inflows.
no, it's great. Oh, these are great questions. So this is questions what I used to, when I rated these types of funds, I'd ask the same thing. And you had to be like a portfolio. We would say, well, what if you had only school district money and you got all your money? They'd have to keep it really short, right? It would have to be a week or less because you have to make sure you have liquidity. But we have so many different county money in here. We have, and so for example, the villages, they're all getting their money right now in June. The towns get their money in January, in February, and counties get it maybe 4 different times a year. So because of that, we have different types of money that comes in and out different times of the year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. The 0.13, the basis points you called
That's
it,
an
that's
average,
your
right?
cut basically, right?
Yep.
Okay, how often does that change? Is this a contractual thing?
Yeah, really good question. Every 3 years that could change. The board sets it. This board has set a maximum of 15, 0.15. So that is the most right now that can be charged is 0.15. But it's also, it's based on assets. So when you go over $2 billion in assets, which we did 5 years ago, we were under $2 billion. But once you go over the $2 billion, then it's 12 basis points. So it's kind of like break points. But yeah, every 3 years it can change. But the board will probably, you know, most likely set that 15 basis points as a maximum.
Thank you.
It hasn't been over that chart, you know, since I know anyway.
And how frequently are you changing the rates?
So that's daily, and so what happened there is if you go on the website, you'll see daily rates going back several years.
Okay.
And it'll change every day. It might only change by, so it could have been yesterday 5.22, today's 5.23. The past 3 months, I think if you look back, it was 5.19 to about 5.3 up. And it really depends on, again, when we're buying those treasuries, if we're going out 6 months, 3 months, 9 months, whatever, on that. And then the liquid money too, we might negotiate a deal with a bank where we're gonna get 5.4%, so that'll help the yield a little bit. Because we'll, you know, we kind of on an overnight basis, and we get the collateral, we'll give them $400 million, $500 million to a bank, a larger bank, and they give us good rates because of that. So we're negotiating in size.
And like, I'm assuming there are no tax implications or anything else? I mean, you know, that seems
No.
like a no-brainer, but I just have to ask the question.
There shouldn't be, yeah. This is a cooperative investment program for you guys, for all the school districts, municipalities, et cetera.
And Todd, currently, who do we invest with?
So currently, the majority of our accounts are with the National Bank of Coxsackie. We also have one bank account with Green County Savings Bank. The largest account that gets interest is at the National Bank of Coxsackie. It's our money market account, and currently earns 4%.
Okay.
What this would also allow us to do is one of the things that we've seen through the state comptroller's office doing audits throughout the state. One of the things coming up on audits is the encouragement of districts to diversify accounts. So right now, we are not very diverse. The majority of our funds, our accounts are with National Bank of Coxsackie. Not that that's a bad thing, great bank, not anything against them, obviously. But just in terms of looking at diversifying that, this would also allow us to do that. We would still use the 2 local banks in terms of our checking accounts and payroll, those pieces. But for investment purposes, this would provide another opportunity, and comparatively right now, at a higher interest rate.
Right, and so if the board were to approve it, we could put an amount, or, I don't know, I'm making something up, you know, is it 5 million or up to? Because I think that one of the things, just to me personally, that's important, is also supporting local businesses in our community. And I think that that is important. However, I do hear the issue about being diversified, and that's also, so it's kind of balancing the needs of both, and kind of maybe capping an amount might allow us to do that. So I just put it out there. Okay.
Exclusivity is not what you're used to.
No, absolutely not. No, no, we actually encourage you to keep your local bank, use them, because we are not a bank. We are really, think of us as like an online savings program, that's all it is. So you keep your local banks, you either use it for checking, whatever else, but hopefully you move over some of the money that can earn some more interest, and then you move it back whenever you need it. So, I mean, the banks know us pretty well, so, honestly.
Other questions that anyone has?
Todd, have you, made any phone calls to local, okay,
Well, I shake my head, but it's actually Melanie Lasher, our treasurer, has done a lot of work with me on this. So she's reached out to other districts that have used it. She also implemented this in Catskill when she was the treasurer at Catskill. So that's where it initiated. When she came back, she initiated the conversation with me of like, we really should look at our investments and what are different opportunities, which led us to NICLAS.
all right. I'm certainly sure you're not gonna mind if I make a phone call, right?
Of course not. So Joel, I know you mentioned this a little bit, but in terms of next steps for a district that wants to partner with NICLAS, what does that look like from here to the point?
Yeah,
where it's
basically
actually-
just pass a resolution, which we have in our registration pack. I have one here if you want to just take a look at it. And once you pass the resolution, there's a paperwork, 15 minutes maybe it takes. And you just send it in within a day or so. You'll get your passwords. You're going to set up your own unique password. There's all these security measures. You get the 6-digit code and everything. And then you can start up usually within 1 to 2 days after sending in your packet.
So you had mentioned that the cybersecurity and so forth. Is there insurance on the funds? Like if, I don't know, $1 million just disappears or something like that? That sounds like your problem, not ours.
There is a good amount of cybersecurity insurance. I'll get that for you when I also answer the other question that you had.
Okay.
But no, it would not be unlimited, but it would be substantial.
Okay.
Joel, as far as management of funds for your typical school district, they're not moving, nickels and quarters in and out, right? But is it cyclical, large chunks, or are they trying to make moving payroll in and out, or what's the typical process?
That's a really good question. So it does vary. So some school districts, when they first start with us, will kind of just move somebody in, see how it goes. Yeah, and don't really move it around. Once you get used to it more, some people will put in their payroll money, others, and make sure they get it out maybe day before or whatever, but make sure they can make their payroll. But like I said, the biggest money that comes in is when they get the money from the state. Usually it's October, and money that goes out is usually monthly, but at this time of year even more comes out because of summers.
Todd, do you envision more of the capital project funding, or like, what is your thought process for this?
Good question. So one of the pieces that has also led to this conversation was this summer we'll be borrowing money for the capital project. That will likely happen in 2 large bands, one this summer and then the next one the following summer. When we do that, it will roughly be about $7 million that we're borrowing for the purpose of paying for the capital project. But obviously we don't pay that all out right away, right? We borrow that money. if we had an account like that class where that money could sit and earn the maximum interest in the time that we have it, then it would be transferred over. Okay, we're cutting checks this week to pay out contractors, transfer this amount from that fund over, but leave everything else from that pot of money there. So that to me makes sense as a first step, because that will be happening in the near future. But we could also look at some of our, like our student activities accounts. That's an account that doesn't have a ton of activity over the course of the year. Some of that money could just sit in night class and earn some interest. Our scholarship funds, those are smaller total dollar amounts, but it would allow us, kind of like you said, just to start and see how it works in the bigger picture of our finances. But certainly the capital project is one that's on my mind of how do we maximize earning money on the money that we borrowed, which sounds weird, but that's
No,
the
and
reality.
that to me is what I was thinking, so, for that. Other questions? Does anyone else have any?
And to Todd's point, we do see a lot of capital money, so we'll, we can see the segregated accounts. So each sub-account that you have, you might have a capital account. And that way, again, all of the interest is calculated for you right there, and it's separated for you. So we do, school districts do that quite often. They have projects going on.
So if you were to summarize, what are the 3 key risks? Because I'm all about the risks.
So, I mean, a list with risk in general is liquidity risk, right? But here, we're extremely liquid, and we make sure that we have more than ample liquidity. And even treasuries are the most liquid types of securities. So that's not a big risk. Cybersecurity risk is always a risk, right?
With everyone.
And we take great pains and spend millions of dollars to kind of do a lot of work with that. And we're pretty optimistic, but we'll never say it'll never happen, because you just don't know. But we do a lot to protect the money. And then, the only other thing that we can't do is control the rates, because the rates are what they are based on whatever the treasuries are yielding and what the Fed does. So when I started here about 7 or 8 years ago, I never thought rates would go to near zero again after the 2008 to 2015 time period. And what happened? Rates went to near zero. We couldn't control that, though. Banks can't really either. But banks can actually loan money out and maybe make a little more spread on that. We can't do that. That's not what we do. We're an investment, right? So I guess you could say, but you have an option at that point of saying, well, I just take my money out there. And again, there's no contract. So, but I've rated these types of funds for, as I said, for 25 years. And this type of program has the least type of risk, because in other states, they can do what's called unsecured or not collateralized. So commercial paper and things like that. Counties can do it here in New York, but you guys cannot. So that would be a little higher degree of risk. It's still a very low risk, but it's still a higher degree because it's not secured. Whether, if there's a problem with IBM or Apple or one of the issuers of that. Because there's no collateral behind that.
So just to clarify, like when you say it's collateralized,
Yeah.
okay, then can you just explain it in layman's terms, like what exactly does that mean? What is the collateral behind it? Are we talking bonds, corporate bonds?
Treasuries,
Okay.
government agencies, or treasuries, or Federal Home Loan Bank, which is like a government agency as well. So that's it. So,
Okay.
Or it's treasuries, or it's actual U.S. treasuries. That's all we can
Those
buy.
are the only- Okay,
That's it.
all right.
Yeah, we can't do anything else.
Are you 100% invested at all times?
As close as we get, it's 99.9 something, yeah. Because sometimes you'll get money at the end where it could be tiny, where it has to just sit in a non-interest bearing account. But yes, I mean, the idea is to be always invested every day. Good question, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Joel.
should I turn this off?
All right, now I'm going to move us on to the district-wide school safety plan. Ariana Burns, Health and Safety Officer at Questar 3. Welcome.
Identified Safety Plan. This is under Education Law 2801-A and Commissioner Regulation 155.17. These plans provide critical information to parents, educators, and our school community on the district policies and procedures relating to safety. Last year, you may remember, my supervisors, Craig Hansen and Tracy Catafalmo, presented to you about the addition of the emergency remote instruction plan. And this year, I will be going over the changes that we made to satisfy the proposed amendments to Commissioner Regulation 155.17, much of which addresses the inclusion of trauma-informed practices and drills. So to start out on page 6 of the plan, I added in some language about trauma. I added 3 different definitions: the definition of trauma, the definition of trauma-informed, and trauma-informed drills. These came directly from the updates to the regulation. And then
Can you just give a quick like description just for the recording?
Okay. So trauma-informed drills is probably the one that really encompasses it the best. This means avoiding tactics in training and drills that introduce or activate trauma, such as the use of props, actors, simulations, or other tactics intended to mimic a school shooting, an incident of violence, or another emergency, or the inclusion of developmentally and age-appropriate content. Drills may inadvertently prompt a negative emotional or psychological response in staff or students because of previous exposures to trauma. So we would be going forward in a trauma-informed manner, trauma-informed meaning to avoiding these tactics in training or drills that may introduce or activate trauma. Is that good? Great. And then further below, I basically just said that we will be using these trauma-informed tactics. Then if we go down to page 7, where it kind of continues in talking a little bit more about the drills. So as you know, we have 4 lockdown drills a year, 8 fire drills a year. Another one of the changes that they wanted to add was that we need to be using the identified secondary means of egress during 4 different drills a year. And if you go a little bit further down, that students and staff will also be provided instruction on the procedures to be followed in the event of a lockdown or evacuation during a lunch period or assembly. It was only required to do so for an evacuation, but we decided to do lockdown as well because if you're going to talk about one, might as well talk about both. And then the final update about the drills is the very next sentence, which is just parents or persons in parental relation shall be notified at least 1 week prior to the drill unless other guidance is received by the state. Then if we move into page 12. Oh, actually, on page 9, we did add the district office and the Greenville Transportation building in section C for hazard identification, just because we have people working in those buildings, so it made sense to add them to the plan. And then on page 12, we slightly reorganized the chain of command just to kind of reflect the seniority of different positions in the district. And then finally on page 19, we included some talk about the district threat assessment teams and the district's participation in the Greene County threat assessment team. And then the final thing that we included was just the updated MOU between the school and the Greene County Sheriff's Department for the SRO. That's all that I have. Any questions?
No, I would just say thank you very much. This is very helpful, and we appreciate kind of making sure that we're proceeding along, the way we need to. I assume we have to do this every year, correct? do it. If you could just give us a red line when you do it, that will be helpful for us to identify what the changes are versus the previous year.
Of course, okay.
Great.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right, now I'm going to move us down to the Trap Shoot season update by Sarah Statham. Come on down.
And Jack Crop.
First place team, congratulations.
Thank you. In our conference. So we just wanted to give a quick update. Our second season ended, and
If the blue light is on, then we can hear you.
testing.
There you go.
So we just completed our second season, and we came in first place in our conference for the season. We remained in first place throughout the 5 weeks of competition, so the kids were great. We had 13 students this year on the team, 1 homeschooled student, 1 from Caro, the rest were Greenville students. This was our youngest team yet. Last year we had a lot of seniors and we lost them, and so this year we had 7th through 11th grade, so if everybody sticks with it, we'll have them, plus hopefully some new students join us. This season, we had 4 students who joined the Straight 25 Club, which is hitting 25 out of 25 birds, which is not an easy feat. And one of them was Jack Crop. Ian Lafferty, Nick Erkin, and Monty Klopp all joined that club this year. Jack.
We went to the state tournament, and, well, first for the conference, out of, how many shooters were we in?
In our conference, there was 7 teams, so, I don't know,
From
100.
Out of all the male shooters from 7 schools, I placed second in our conference. And we later went to the state tournament where I ended up placing 3rd overall, out of 750 shooters. And I also hit 25 at the state tournament.
Yes. So Jack got some medals. He was very happy. And the best quote of ever in my life was when he's like, "Statham, this is my Disneyland." And he was so excited to be there. And at the state tournament, we only ever practice at our home team. It's our kids, our coaches, 1 track field. At the state tournament, there's 27 track fields,
All going at once.
all going from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. the whole day. It's quite overwhelming, the noise and the commotion, and these kids all went and had 7 of you went, right?
Yes, sir.
And had a great day, and
Also, one of the junior varsity kids, he placed second in his division and tied with the other students, but sadly did not get a medal due to the rules of the tournament because there was reverse run, and he had a low reverse run compared to everyone else.
he didn't get another. That was Chris Hock. He's an 8th grader
Yeah.
here at
He
Greenville.
tested me for modified, right? We're considered modified.
What do you mean? No. he didn't. So we just wanted to let you know, give you our update. We're very proud of our kids, and we appreciate that you've allowed us to do this. It's grown and grown and grown, so we got in at the, I mean, it's just getting bigger and bigger. More schools around us are involved in it.
I think there's 3,000 shooters in New York that do it and for school weeks. So it is a growing sport, and it is one of the safest sports that we have in New York State.
It's absolutely wonderful, congratulations. Do you have a sense of the participants, how many, this is the first time they're participating in a club or something?
Like for our kids here,
Yeah.
many of them, this is the only thing that they participate in after school hours. One of our new best shooters, he got on my team because he didn't, because of the baseball team, so he emailed like the day of the last day of registration, was like, "Please can I join?" I don't think he's gonna go back to baseball now because he loved it so much. But most of the kids, this is their only, yeah. And it's great because we have a big age range, but they all, get together, work as a great team. And so it's nice to see boys, girls, the wide range in age and all working together.
And just
just want to say thank you, Sarah, for having the vision and seeing it through and creating this, because you said this will open up a world for other people, the kids that don't participate in the sports, and you were right. So it's kind of like a, if you build it, they will come thing, and you did it.
There's Jack, you're the one that wanted it. That's why I said, I'm going to this meeting, you're coming with me, you got me into this. So, and it is inexpensive. This year alone, it's all fundraising, and we spend over $8,000 just on ammunition to run the season. So there is interest to do the fall season as well, but financially, it's not something that I can take on at this time, because it takes a whole year to get ready for the one season. So we appreciate all of our local businesses and supporters and the gun clubs that help us out financially.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Jack, for encouraging Sarah to do it.
And congratulations on your medals. And that's really great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we'll move this to the athletic update for the spring sports, and Denise Wickham, the director of HBE. Hello, Denise.
Am I on? Okay, spring season. Yeah, that is wonderful to see, you know, and I agree with you, Angela, like, just seeing that vision is amazing. Spring sports recap. So baseball and boys tennis had a long season this year. So this was rebuilding years for both of them. Not a lot of wins on there, but I will say that our baseball team, whereas they didn't have a lot of wins, they were kind of close in a lot of their games. So that was progress from where we were last year. Our boys tennis team only had about 6 kids on it, and they worked extremely hard, but they weren't as successful as they have been in the past. We graduated a lot of seniors from that team last year. Softball, Coach Lacey's here, so in case I make any mistakes, he can correct me. They ended up second in the Patroon to Chatham. For a while, we were number 1 in the Patroon, and then Chatham kind of took that over, so we're trying to fight to get that back. And they're going to keep growing, I believe. They made it to quarterfinals and sectionals, losing 5-4 to Mechanicville in those quarterfinals to take them out of sectionals, which I know was disappointing for them. Shay Lambersect was first team all-conference. She also was 5th team all-state. We just got that not too long ago, so that's a really huge honor anytime that any kids are honored in an all-state capacity. Molly Gardner and Olivia Hughes were 2nd team. Shay also won the, what was the award?
Neil Allen, Umpires Award. Neil Allen.
Neil Palin Umpires Award. So we're very proud of her as she goes off to college at Oneonta. Track and field had a wonderful season this spring. Jonas Breton, he made a new high jump record of 6'2". He can jump over me. It's crazy. I was standing under the bar going, he can jump over me. So Ariana Good, she was a 100-meter record for 12.6. So expecting great things from her in the future, because she's very young. Charlotte Dawson, this was her first year, and she made first team all conference. Foster Britton was first team 1600-meter Patroon conference. Bryn Fitzmaurice was 2nd team. Jonas Britton was a section 2 champion with his 6'2" jump. And Bryant Funstead and Caleb Pettit and Cohen Wilbur were all 2nd team all conference. And Emily Smith, Charlotte Dawson, Bryn Fitzmaurice, and Evelyn Corcoran were section 2 4x800-meter champions. So they're going to continue, I know, because there's a young squad. They're going to continue to just keep breaking records and doing all that kind of stuff. I always said the records are meant to be broken, and they're doing it. This year we also had 9 student seniors that participated in a senior signing day. I don't have all of their names here, but that was an amazing night for them to be recognized. And let's see, what else do I have? Summer camps
basketball, softball, baseball, and volleyball. And we had a few of our camps that got canceled this summer due to low enrollment. But we're looking forward to that. A lot of the summer camps are really, really extremely important for athletics, especially with some of these sports like wrestling and volleyball, because the community doesn't have a feeder program, so they don't have youth in those sports. So that's really critical to kind of get our coaches in contact with the youth in our community, so that they keep thinking about, hey, yeah, volleyball, wrestling, whatever that might be. We have a lot of youth soccer, as most of you know, and youth basketball, but some of the other sports like tennis and that kind of stuff, trying to grow it when kids are younger is important.
And Denise, for the summer camps, when did they take place?
Actually, they're going to start July 15th, and then they go through, I believe it's August 1st is the last date for summer camps.
And are they here on campus?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we had our end of the season, or end of the year award ceremony. It was very long. The coaches did an amazing job recognizing their teams and the student athletes. And we're actually talking about how to kind of decrease some of that time, and maybe do some things a little bit differently in the future.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to move us on to the CTE Business Pathways, and Matt Berkshire, the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, with Matthew Lacey, Computer and Business Teacher.
Good evening, everybody. Matt and I are here to present to you our plan for the business CTE pathway. This is something that's been a couple of years in the making, and this will be our fourth pathway. This work started under Mr. Hilgendorf's time when he was in this seat, and collaboration with the other folks in the CTE department. So we're happy to present this tonight to you. I want to welcome Mr. Lacey to the board meeting. Good evening, everybody. Happy to have his expertise tonight as we go over this. So tonight we'll talk about the approval process, which I'm sure you all are getting pretty familiar with since you've now seen this presentation several times. But then we'll get into the specifics about the CTE business program of study, because that's where the really interesting stuff is to us now. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're looking for feedback and recommendations or questions on clarity. And here's a framing question for you. So do you feel that this business program of study will prepare Greenville students to be successful, whether they go directly into the workforce or if they continue on to post-secondary education? Quickly to review the process, in case you've forgotten, we can dust it off for you. There are four main steps to NICET approval for a CTE pathway. The first step is called self-study, and that's a lot of steps. There's a lot of internal work to do. It's the planning. We'll talk about some of the steps a little bit later on, that self-study. It's laying down that framework, which you get up to the point where you do an external review, which is when you present that framework to people from the field to get their input, right? People who are out there working in that business, in this case, business field, and who understand what the needs of that workforce are. We have Board of Education approval presentation. Here we are tonight. And the deadline for submission to New York State Education Department is October 1st, 2024. So we're well ahead of that. So we have time to make any changes to our application based on the feedback you give us tonight. Keep in mind when we're going through here and discussing any pathway to graduation, any academic work, the focus is on what our students are graduating to, right? Not just where they're graduating from. So the idea is they leave here, doors open to the rest of the world. And we want as many doors as possible for our students to be able to use to get out into the real world. benefits of a CTE pathway. To sum up many of these, it's relevance, right? It's a real life connection to a career choice that students have interest in. Another main summary here that I would say is in the benefits is that we're giving our students a competitive advantage. So whether it's a competitive advantage over undergraduates who are college bound in a business major, right, and their application and their coursework that they've taken, is that giving them an advantage over somebody who hasn't been in a pathway like this? Or graduates who are workforce bound and who are going to go into the business field right out of high school. Activities and skills and clubs and coursework that's on their resume, will that give them an advantage over a similar candidate who's exiting high school, applying for that same job, who didn't have any of that experience? We hope the answer is yes. Six main components, or not main, these 6 components of CTE programs. It's the courses, it's that connection between academic content and work-based learning opportunities, post-secondary agreement where students can earn credits at college institutions, and it's the 3-part technical assessment, and then certified teachers like Mr. Lacey. We're going to go into more detail on many of these in a few minutes.
Matt, just a quick question. In the slide previously, are eligible to participate in the CTE 4+1 graduation pathway. Does that mean a total of 5 years to complete high school? Is that the way I'm reading it correctly?
That's actually the Regents, the 4 tests and plus 1 other.
Got it. So it's not years, it's the test that you need. Got it.
And I've
That
got a
makes sense.
slide
Okay.
later on. We'll go a little bit more into the 4+1 visual on that, but that's a great question. When I was first learning this, I actually thought the same thing. So we talked about the self-study and all the work that goes into that. The first thing that we look at is projected enrollment, and is there demand? And one of the things that's been happening here at Greenville over the last couple of years, and with having Mr. Lacey come in, is that there is demand for business, and there was before as well with Linda Esposito in here. Having strong teachers tends to reinforce that, right? And so we feel that there is going to be demand for this pathway. Everything we do, we get together, we've got to log it, that's got to submit to the state. We have to review the standards for our courses and what the standards are for this field of study. We have to discuss what work-based learning opportunities are going to be, and that takes place with our work-based learning coordinator, Lynn Hughes, and working together with Matt Lacey. How does that all mesh together with the coursework that students are doing? The employability profile, soft skills and hard skills. Deciding which technical assessment we want to give. And looking at our post-secondary agreements that we have in place. Is there anything that we need to do in addition to what we already have? And then making sure that we have a CTE certified teacher to start with. And I'm going to turn it over to Matt to go a little bit further into self-study.
Going back real quickly to the enrollment, and not sure if we were going to get the numbers or not. I remember 2 years ago when I did the screening interview with Mr. Helgedorf, I really focused on vision and also rapport with students because I think that builds programs. I think it's safe to say, based off our numbers last 2 years, that's something that we've accomplished. So, I really appreciate you giving me a chance, obviously, and here I am today. So, thank you. Looking at a couple of our areas of interest in the business industry, the 2 we have up there right now is the marketing and accounting. You can see that those percentage numbers to the right of the jobs are all increases in those positions that are available in the workforce for our students once they've completed their careers here at Greenville. So I won't go through all of them, but you can see there's quite a few that have numbers up in the 10s and 20s and even 30%. Flipping to the next page, you see here the management and sales, which I think is really the foundation for most business classes. Again, really high numbers. There are jobs out in the field for these students. We just have to give them the soft skills and hard skills to enhance their abilities to be successful when they leave Greenville. This is a little bit difficult to see from where you're at. If you do have the handout, or we can send it to you obviously as well. This is the overview of the classes that will be in the pathway itself. So at the upper left, we have the required courses. We have 3 classes that are required in this business pathway. One is the Principles of Marketing and Management. That's a new class that is taking hold of Greenville here in the fall. That'll be your foundational work into any business class moving forward. That's new. We have our finance cluster, which is accounting, and we'll get into accounting a little bit more in depth in a minute here. We also have our capstone class, our business management entrepreneurship class. Okay, so the accounting and business management are both 1 credit classes. Other required classes to graduate and also for this pathway are junior and senior seminar, and that's CFM, which was career and financial management. Other districts label it as that. We just label it as junior and senior seminar. And then students also have a choice of 2 different marketing classes. We do a sports and entertainment marketing class here. Extremely popular. I think we had almost 50 kids sign up for it this past year. I ran 2 sections of it. I don't know enrollment numbers, but kids typically like to talk about sports and entertainment, so it's usually a very popular class. And then we started a real estate class this year as well. We look at the basics of being a real estate agent, residential, commercial, land. We talk a little bit about personal finance as well when they get into the, we'll call it the real world, right? Being ready and understanding the budget, understanding what some of these scary words are that, some districts don't teach and some students don't know when they leave. So I think that's super important. And at the very bottom, you have that 3-part effective assessment that Mr. Berkshire talked about earlier. You have the written part, the performance part, and the project part. And we'll get in a little bit more detail with that assessment as well moving forward.
On that document, it says that the students will receive credit from SUNY Cobleskill. For all of them, or how does that work?
That is for the accounting class. So in a couple of pages too, we talk about a little bit more, but just to highlight, we have a CIHS class right now through SUNY Cobleskill. Students are able to take that class and actually not get the college credit if they don't want to. We obviously encourage everyone to try to take that opportunity that's available. It's pretty much the same class. The only difference is they have to register with SUNY Cobleskill. They pay a small fee, and then actually the last couple of years, due to I think funding in COVID and a couple other financial issues, they've been able to get almost free for some students, which is obviously great to have that opportunity for our kids. Mr. Berkshire touched upon the employability profile a little bit earlier, basically some soft skills and hard skills that we would love our students to leave Greenville with and going to their profession, their career, to college, wherever their next step may be. Attendance, punctuality, quality of work. It's not up there, but looking at someone in the eyes when you're speaking with them and handshake, some of the stuff that I think is kind of a lost art that we're really trying to bring back. And I think it's important, whether it's business, whether it's interior design, whether it's working on a horse farm, it doesn't matter. Those skills are super important, and we're really trying to spread it all across the CTE department and obviously business department as well. So this speaks about our post-secondary opportunities, our accounting class through SUNY Cobleskill. They are able to get 3 college credits, and again, that's from SUNY Cobleskill. It's an online software program we use right now. We call it kind of like spot teaching. There's prompts that help students get to a point where they need to be in terms of foundation. I step in, I do a little bit of the teaching and make sure they get to where they need to be up to speed. They have an online program that kind of helps walk through some of the basic accounting principles and skills and abilities, and the kids seem to really enjoy it. We're kind of in the process of maybe discussing a different platform in the future, but right now this is what we're going with, and we have a great relationship with SUNY Cobleskill, and yeah, it's worked out very well the last couple of years. So a little bit of the work-based learning that we are going to or have experienced, community service and volunteering. We have the DECA Business Club that I'm hopefully trying to start here soon, right, Ms. Corrigan? Next year's hopefully will be the trial run, trying to set the foundation for that right now. Basically trying to get some sort of business club here in Greenville so students can understand, kind of what's out there in the business world, because it's a super big industry. You can't really categorize it just 2, 3, 4, even 5 subjects. There's just so much into it. So we're going to try to introduce that. FFA is obviously a large part of Greenville. It's been here for a long time. That's obviously in the community service work-based learning as well. Captain's Club is another new club that we're trying to implement. Next year will be a dry run. It's actually student-driven. Charlotte Dawson, who was spoken about earlier in our athletics, she has come up with this initiative to bring Captain's Club to Greenville. It's a statewide initiative right now, and essentially it focuses on athletes mentoring younger athletes or younger student athletes, and focuses on making sure academics are up to par, soft skills and hard skills, and also the mental health aspect. I think that we, sometimes don't always hit in all aspects of life, and it's a great club, and I look forward to speaking to you more about it once it's really shown its flowers and flourished a little bit. Then we also have some other local volunteering that other teachers and we do through the work-based learning. A couple experiences that we've done or would like to do. Students have visited retail stores, local banks, worked well with businesses within the community, and again, that's something that we really want to instill in our students is giving back to our community. I think they talked about it earlier with the presentation in terms of the funds, and you had mentioned it, Ms. Young. It's super important to me as well that we give back to the community, and everything that we do is focused and centered on community-based stuff. And the 2 districts I've been at beforehand, that's what I've tried to instill, and I'm going to do the same thing here for the rest of my career. We've also gone to the Syracuse Orange. We went to a men's and women's basketball game to kind of help promote marketing and management through a couple of business classes. And then we're going to try to enhance our student projects. Right now we have the community-based projects that they do, leading up to them being a senior, and I hope just to enhance on that as well. Let's see here, sorry. Okay. Our 3-part technical assessment, this is an exam that they're going to take at the end of the capstone class, which is our entrepreneurship class. We currently offer it as a half-year class. It's going to be transitioning to a full-year class, and I believe next year will be, again, a dry run to see how it works out. We've actually picked an exam already that has guidelines that lines up and correlates with the increases in jobs in those industries we saw earlier. Accounting, management, marketing, sales are on there as well. So there's a written aspect of that, there's a performance aspect of that, where they have to create either a job profile, a resume, a cover letter, something that helps obviously get them ready for the workforce or college, and also puts them above everyone else that may be going for that same job or that same position in college, where it could be the difference between them or somebody else. And then lastly, we have the local project and portfolio.
So just delving in a little bit deeper into what the portfolio looks like. Student work in there, the career plan, which comes out of Naviance, and work that's done in our junior senior seminar. The employability profile we talked about earlier, the soft skills and hard skills that are documented on there, and then documentation of the work-based learning hours. So all of those pieces that we've talked about are different pieces of this program. They're not only having to pass the test, but they also have to put together a portfolio that is all coupled with, that's the assessment piece for the pathway.
Matt, just a quick question regarding the career plan. Naviance, way back in the day, from when I remember it, it's very buggy. Is it the optimal platform, or is there another one that might suit our needs better?
We're actually going to speak a little bit more about Naviance in the next presentation. From my I don't work directly with it. I haven't heard complaints of it being buggy. I don't know, maybe it's improved over time, no? So it is something that has been used for a while, and if our, counseling, school counselors have other recommendations or thoughts, things to look into, we're always open to tools to improve. Yeah.
I just know firsthand, it's extremely buggy. And so, if there are other platforms that are better, every platform's going to have issues. So I just throw it out there and we can talk about it in the next presentation. If there's something that's better, that suits our needs, that, propose it.
This is to speak to your earlier question about 4+1. This is a visual representation of that. So what this is every student in New York State has to have 22 credits. Then number 2 is they have to pass 4 New York State Regents exams. So 1 in English Language Arts, 1 Science, 1 Math, 1 Social Studies. Now, the +1 means one of these other things to the right. So a CDOS pathway, Career Development Occupational Standards, or a CTE pathway, which is what we're proposing tonight, or a STEM region, so another science or another math regions, a humanities, so another social studies regions, an art pathway, or languages other than English. So that's the 4+1. So CTE can be the +1. In this case, what takes the place of that Regents exam is that 3-part assessment, right? The technical assessment plus the portfolio. So that brings us back to our initial question here, and where we open ourselves up for feedback and thoughts from y'all, which is, as presented tonight, do we feel that this will prepare our students to be successful, whether or not they go directly into the workforce, or whether or not they continue on to post-secondary education in the business field? Any thoughts or questions as to?
I have a question.
Yeah.
At what grade would they be entering into this or have to make this decision? And then, I guess, how are they becoming informed about these? Because I think that generally the students go with the language option. It's just kind of where we funnel them into. And so then when are they being made aware that there's another option?
Yeah, those are both really good questions, Angela. So the question of like, when do you have to decide? There's actually not like a point of declaration in this, right? So we'll have students who, going into their senior year, the counselors could look and say, oh, hey, if you take this and this, you can get the CTE technical endorsement on your diploma, right? And maybe they've already taken the other, they've completed the 4+1 by taking, 2 science regions, and they might be good to go there. But it's a matter of like, oh, you could earn this additional accreditation. So it's something that students can move into as long as they have time in their schedule up to their senior year. So it's not like a hard set, like, oh, you better be in here by the time you're a junior or you're not going to be able to get in,
Okay.
right? And then your point there with the the advertisement, right? And that's something we've been talking about with all departments this school year. The math department wants it. Everybody wants their classes to be the classes that are full, right? So Mrs. Gorgan and I have been actually talking with a number of departments and the department chairs about, okay, like everybody wants their moment to promote. How are we going to do that in a way that's systematic, in a way that's not overwhelming for the kids? And the best people to promote their programs are the teachers who are in front of them every day, right? Hey, you like math? Follow this sequence. Hey, are you enjoying learning about entrepreneurship with me? Well, there's a bunch of different classes that we can take. That's the best promotion that we do have.
Also, during career day, all the CTE teachers spoke to 8th graders in cycles so everyone at the 8th grade level had an idea of what the new pathways were: facts, tech, ag, and then obviously business now as well. And we can't say business pathway is going to be approved until it gets approved, but forecasting, like, there's a good possibility that this could be approved as well. And having 4 different types of endorsements that are possible through the CTE program, I think, is a tremendous way to not only cap off your career here at Greenville, but also see different things that are happening. So we did do that at the 8th grade level this year. We'll continue to do that, I believe, the career day. I want to speak on behalf of the counseling department, but also word of mouth. And like I said, we're working with them to make sure it gets out to all the students. So thank you.
Thanks for adding that. We do so much sometimes I forget what it was. And that was every single 8th grader got to sit in front of every CTE teacher, and every CTE teacher talked about the pathway. So that was, hey, you're entering high school, this is what's available to you.
So are they also doing it in the evening when you have like the rising 9th graders? I remember it's in the spring or something like that, and the parents are there.
Future
also?
freshman night?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yep. And I actually also did a presentation to the PTSA this year on them as well.
Because I think just as many
Yep.
ways and times, because sometimes it may take more than just once in order for someone to kind of like, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thanks so much. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I just want to say I love that hard and soft skills are a part of the curriculum in this program. Having that, those real world experiences and lessons you can say. And I absolutely do think, to answer that question, yes, that this would prepare students best out of high school. So thank you for presenting.
Thank you. Your perspective is really valuable. Appreciate it.
Both asking a quick question. What is the process going forward if you were to discover another elective that the kids wanted that could fit into this, or if you discover another, I know we had talked a little bit before about like adding a computer class with those types of skills that could benefit it. Do we have to go back through and apply again, or can things be added?
There is, I haven't had to do this yet, but if I understand this, there is a way to add to it, but there is a process, right? So it is an approved pathway, and you have to submit it as such. So to change it, there needs to be a revisiting of that. Mr. Hilgendorf, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's fairly easy, as long as it aligns with the overall structure that was originally, the original intention of what the pathway was. You can add electives that come up. So we actually did this for agriculture, which was the first pathway that we got approved. The following year, we wanted to add another elective. It's an amendment form for the state that you have to cite. Here's the initial pathway that was approved. Here's why we want to add this other elective. As long as you can justify it, it gets folded into the pathway. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Matt, don't go too far away since you're doing the next presentation on right, students post-graduation. So, and this presentation was to give board members kind of a sense of, well, once they graduate, where are they going?
Yeah, stall
Hmm?
more. Stretch it out, stall.
Okay, all right, so, in looking at the class of 2024, there we go, excellent. And we appreciate this because I think that this was a question that board members have asked, and we just wanted to see, okay, we hear anecdotally this and that, but what are they doing? And it's very difficult, we understand, to maintain contact and to try to find out once they leave, because they're like, bye.
Yeah.
So with that, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks. When Mike asked if I could do this, I thought, hey, no problem, because our guidance department does a lot of work in this area. And I also thought it was a great opportunity to talk about some of the things that we've done quite a bit of work in this area to try and support students in their post-secondary readiness and post-secondary plans. So I think it's a good place, and you probably heard smatterings of that over my board updates and such. So I think this is a good opportunity. So appreciate that, and I'm happy to have Christy here tonight because these are her teams at her school doing this work. So as always, we try to ground our presentations in district goals, and right now what we're talking about is a culmination of all these goals. Right, we're talking about graduation. And that's the attainment of the ultimate goal. And where are our students going to, rather than where they're coming from. So tonight, we'll go over the class of 2024's post-secondary plans, as well as go over some data that can help contextualize it a little bit. And we'll be going over some kind of some data points from years past and some data points from national level that'll help give some context. And then we'll talk about ways that we're supporting post-secondary planning at the high school. I do want to point out that a lot of the work that we'll be talking about for supporting post-secondary planning and some of the data points is coming from our relationship with Harvard University and the National Center for Rural Education Research Networks. So you're going to hear me call it NCERN throughout this because that's a mouthful. They've just been an excellent partner for us, and we've been working with them for the last 2 years on an initiative called Post-Secondary Readiness Checklists. And it's given us a lot of insight to our students and how supported they feel going forward. So here on this pie chart, this is a representation of the future plans for the Greenville class of 2024. Now, please take this with, I don't want to say grain of salt, but with this understanding that these are students who are exiting from high school and their decisions change frequently, right? And so this data is gathered straight from them, and the guidance department is working on this every single day. So I'll share anecdotally, I'm walking down the hallway the other day, one of the school counselors is at the door of the classroom, he knocks on the door, hey, can I see so-and-so? They come to the door, he goes, did you make a final decision yet? Right, so this is the work that's being done. When students walk out of Regents, they'll catch them, hey, what are you gonna do in the fall? When we hand them their diplomas sometimes, did you make a final decision yet? And actually, we keep this all on a spreadsheet that we call future plans. And so this isn't something that's just, we pulled together now for you to have tonight. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and we have this information. And we use it, CTE pathways. I have to report what the students that are in those CTE pathways end up doing after high school. So it gets used, and it's there for us to, we're curious about where our students are going.
Matt, to that point, do you find that, so obviously this is a composite of all graduates.
Yes.
Do you find a difference with the students that are in the CTE pathways? Does it skew more going straight into the workforce or whatever? And if you don't have the numbers, that's fine. You can just get back to us. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers. I can look more specifically into some of the pathways that those students chose when they exited. I filed on the ag program last year was the first year, or this school year is the first year we had to do that.
So maybe 2 to 3 years would be a better time to do it. All right, if you could just put it in your file,
Yep.
2 to 3 years. Thanks.
So 4-year college, we have 46% of the students that are going to 4-year college. 2-year college, 29.9%. Workforce, 23.7%. That workforce number, there is no national or New York State released data that says this percentage of high school graduates go on to the workforce or the military. I read around and found as many estimates as I could and found that it's about 30% of students nationwide is the estimate that either go into the workforce or the military. So just to give a little bit of context there for Greenville's workforce bound students. I I was able, in order to provide some context for you, I was able to find some data that came from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, and the last nationally released data is on the class of 2022. So this is comparing Greenville's class of 2024 with national, all schools from 2022, and all rural schools nationwide from 2022. We can see where we stack up. In terms of total students being college bound, between 4-year and 2-year, Greenville, we're quite far ahead of both national all schools and national rural. The big difference there really seems to be in the 2-year college, where Greenville has about 29% of the students going, and national rural and all schools nationally is just under 20%. Again, over there on the workforce and military, that number combined national estimates I was able to find is about 30%. Another data point that I wanted to share in order to help give some context to the numbers on the class of 2024 is this piece of data that came from our work with NCERN. So we survey students through NCERN at the end of the school year, and this is data from the class of 2023. We will have this data on the class of 2024, but we won't get it until next fall. So the percentage on this graph is Greenville. So college bound 2023 was 70%. That dot right there, that's the network average of rural schools that participated in this study through NCERN. That's about 1,200 students throughout New York State. Right? So last year's pathways of interest, just about 70%. That's right about where it matched up with other New York State schools participating in the Rural Schools Network. Workforce, Greenville was 13. That was below that network average. Apprenticeship, just about in line, and military, just about in line with the averages from those pathways.
How would you classify apprenticeship? Is that like electrician, plumber, where you have to have an apprenticeship? So it's sort of workforce, but not quite?
Yeah, it really is workforce, but it's entering workforce with the intent that you're entering a program where you're going to get trained and you enter at a higher rate of pay. In some programs you hire an apprenticeship, you finish the apprenticeship, you're up to a higher percentage of being into a full union, right? So different than entering the workforce of just, hey, I'm Matt, I'm here to carry shingles. Well, if you learn it as an apprenticeship, you're, hey, I'm Matt, and I'm devoted to learning roofing, and I'm now your apprentice, and I'm signed on for a period of time. It's a different level of commitment to students. And thanks for asking about apprenticeship, because on this next slide here, actually, if I could move on from here, if nobody has any other questions. Apprenticeship is really an area where our students have questions about the process and how to get to an intended pathway. So this graph this is kind of busy here, but I did share with you a data point to compare it to. So there's a graph which was shared with you at the beginning of the meeting. That's for New York State, the schools that were in that network. And this is just Greenville's class of 2023. This is the extent which Greenville students know the steps they need to take to enter their intended pathway. So when we look at this data, it tells us students were saying, hey, I want to go to college, or I want to join an apprenticeship, and this is the extent to which I know what I need to do to get there. So looking at both the state and the Greenville numbers gives us some context of how prepared our students feel in terms of to take the steps they need to get to their intended pathway. One of the things that we felt was of note, and while it was only 7 students for Greenville, but it was also matched up with the network of schools across NCERN, was the apprenticeship area, where students were, there was some interest in that, but not a lot of people that felt really confident that they knew what to do to get into an apprenticeship. And then when we look at our college numbers, our percentage of students who are going to college who know completely what they need to do was equal to the network, but the number of kids who knew quite a bit, right, who were feeling, yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident, that's actually lower than the state average. So it tells us that we probably have some kids in the middle who are kind of shaky, who are maybe going 2-year or 4-year colleges, who the process isn't completely clear to. So along those lines, we have a number of things that are in our curriculum which support post-secondary planning and readiness. And Christy and I wanted to highlight some of those things tonight for you.
I wish Mr. Lacey was here because he mentioned that junior and senior seminar was CFM, which is Career and Financial Management, and I want to say it's so much more than that, Mr. Lacey. So my portion is talking about junior and senior seminar. So in a student's junior year, but in spring is when they take junior seminar, and then the seniors will take senior seminar the fall of their senior year. Every student goes through this process to make sure that they are well prepared for post-secondary choices. During the seminar class, students have the opportunity to grow skills necessary to meet the individual needs of their post-secondary plans. They learn about career development. They learn about workforce development skills, such as workplace etiquette, interview skills, things of that nature. They also learn how to fill out applications, not just for college, but also for jobs as well too. Financial management and goal setting are definitely part of seminar class. School counselors often push into junior and senior seminar to work with students on the checklist that we'll talk about in a little bit, but also to provide students with information about next steps and their post-secondary options. The next slide will provide more information about those checklists, but we have 4 major checklists that we go over: military, 2-year college, 4-year college, and then the workforce/apprenticeship. When counselors visit seminar class, they utilize the counseling website, which I'll talk about, and Naviance. So Naviance is used in many high schools to assist with career and college readiness. It provides students tools and resources that simplify the college application process. So Teresa, I think it did get a little bit better. I don't think it's still 100%, but I think it's better. I know kids, they use it often in seminar, right? I don't want to put you on the spot, Harrison, but you use Naviance, right?
Yes, we do. Yes.
So Naviance is where we host or hold those post-secondary checklists as well too. Parents can access it, and I don't know what the parent portion looks like. So I'm assuming, Tracy, that might be what you, that you were accessing, and I don't, Angela, you might, no, okay. I'm going to keep to my script.
That was a definitive no.
And then the counseling website also contains a wealth of information. There's the guidance website, but then on the left-hand corner, it says the counseling website. Mr. Lamberson takes really great care of updating that frequently. So the different things you can find on that is information about college fairs, PSATs, SAT, and ACT dates, junior and senior scholarships, financial aid, and both junior and senior timeline, which is kind of similar to what we used prior to partnering with NKERN. We always had some kind of like list out there. They were kind of a little bit more ambiguous, something that was talked about in junior and senior seminar, but we've really been able to hone down on those. And these timelines that I just mentioned, they give parents and students just an overall of what should be happening junior year and what should be happening during senior year. Then when students finish senior seminar, they have a completed portfolio full of resources that they can take with them. It includes a generic cover letter and a resume, letters of recommendation for people here at school, or it could be somebody that if the student has a job, somebody at their current place of employment, a job application, skills and interest assessments based around career interest or work-based experience, a list of accomplishments. I know it's called like a brag sheet because students have a hard time of coming up with like, well, what were your
brag sheet, so it's a little bit easier to talk about what the students were good at or what they've accomplished. And it also encompasses their community service hours and then a senior essay. Students are able to use this with colleges, potential employers, or at apprenticeships. This idea initially came from a partnership with the Greene County Chamber of Commerce. It was called the BEST portfolio, and that's what you see up there in the middle. And that idea focused on collaborative opportunities between the business world and the education world. Some other important pieces that are not, that were not really part of like maybe our checklist, but are important to point out, is that our counselors do a great job of securing college visits for our students. So in the fall, they took students to a couple different Capital Region campuses to tour and just kind of see what like campus life would be like. And they just did that recently too in the spring for the juniors. Just recently too, I think it was in May, the counselors took most of the junior class, I think almost everyone went, to SUNY New Paltz for a college fair. That college fair had almost every single SUNY school there represented. I was able to attend to that, so it was really cool because some of the kids knew exactly what to do and went up to tables and asked questions, or they knew which tables they wanted it up. Others were following some of us adults around, and it's kind of like a little bird pushing them out. It's like, you gotta go do this yourself. You go talk to the college representatives. So it was good to see where our different students are with regards to their comfort level of talking to adults. Students also received information about a trades and a job fair that occurred in April. One of our Capital Region schools put that on. It was hosted at Shen High School. There was a list that was shared with students as well too of which companies and organizations are out there and were willing to talk to students entering the workforce and potentially offer employment. We still have more on the slides around the checklist, but does anyone have any questions on this?
Do we send the checklist to parents?
We do. I'm going to talk about that in a second when we get to the checklist.
Okay, I'll wait.
Yeah.
So as Christy spoke about the checklists and how they've evolved through our work with anyone, and we obviously at the beginning of the second year of doing these, we tightened up the timeline and adjusted it for things that changed or any adjustments that we needed to make. We made format improvements to it, hot linking items that are on there directly to websites that they need to visit, or where they can find resources. And then the checklist is actually assigned to students in Naviance, and it's part of their progress monitoring and part of the work that they need to do in their senior seminar is, hey, check off what you're completing on this process when you're done with it. So there are 4 different checklists, one for each of these pathways. So if you're going to go to a 4-year college, these are the steps. If you're going to go to a 2-year college, these are the steps. Workforce or apprenticeship, here you go. In the military, this is what to do. As we refined and worked on this, one of the areas that we knew that we can improve in was communication with parents around this, right? I mean, college application process, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year, or joining the military or the workforce, when you're 17, 18 years old, it's helpful to have the support of an adult in your home, right? So we, last year, had done a PR campaign on the checklists, and this year we expanded it even more. So it went home in the e-news. It was part of the Spartan Snapshot. It's in the daily bulletin each day, which is accessible both to parents and students. There was an email sent to parents with all 4 checklists in November, and hard copies were sent home in early November with a letter stating, hey, your child has indicated that this is their preferred pathway. If that is different than what you've been told, or if that has changed, please speak with your child and or the guidance counselor for support. And the other checklist can be reached here on the school's guidance website. So always working to try and help folks understand what are those steps. I took the post-secondary checklist and I gave it to my sister when she said, what am I supposed to do? My niece was a junior, and I said, well, you know what? It's going to look a little different for your district, but this will at least help you get started, and she appreciated that. think this is a good tool. Getting it into folks' hands at, at the right time and when it's most relevant to them, I think is something that we continue to evolve on. How do we hit that sweet spot with the checklists? Yeah.
So students have access to all 4 of these, and what they hone in on is whatever their top choice is. I know sometimes Ms. Hughes even works with students because they're not sure if they're going to go right in the workforce or if they're going to go to a 2-year college. So she has them, complete kind of like both of them, and it's not overwhelming. They're usually like just 1 page, and then or maybe 1 page and a little bit on the back. But on every single one of these checklists, there is a spot where students, it's a check off, have you filled out financially? Because we do know our students change their mind, or something doesn't pan out that they wanted to. So even though students are filling out financially, it doesn't mean necessarily they have to go to college, but at least the option is there then if they choose to go to college and need that financial support. One of the things I wanted to point out, and I had this in my notes, and it was perfect, Tracy, because you asked the question about apprenticeship. Right on the workforce checklist, the 3rd box down says explore apprenticeships and internship opportunities, and there's live links right there that will bring students to learn more about apprenticeships. And that was one of the things that we noted from EdKern too, that students really don't know what apprenticeships are. So there's that, there's the different types of apprenticeships, and then there's explore more opportunities. And then the next checkbox says if you're if interested in pursuing apprenticeship, contact your local apprenticeship representative here. So it brings them directly to somebody locally that can help them like key in on where they're looking to apprentice. And then some of the other things that are just on this checklist, because it is a little bit different than those that are going to college. There's direct links to how to write a resume when you're leaving high school, so it's high school resume writing tips, and there's a resource to help students prepare for a job interview as well too. So there's all deadlines on here where students have to go in and actually do the checking off. So when counselors go into Naviance and they'll say like, oh, why doesn't the student have anything done for the last month and a half? They can then reach out to that student, or they can reach out to Ms. Hughes, so who can then talk to that student in class. I think that's all I have for the checklist.
And lastly tonight, I wanted to highlight another step that we took this school year. We looked at that data at the beginning of the year, and we saw the apprenticeships, and we saw that we have students who are entering the workforce, and we know anecdotally from talking with our school counselors that sometimes we have students who are entering the workforce who don't know what they want to do, right? So they might have a part-time job at a local retail store or something seasonal, right? We have a lot of students around here who work, there's a lot of seasonal work to be had, but that sort of dries up when the fall comes around. So what we wanted to do was find a way to support students entering the workforce to have, to get into a career-oriented employment right out of high school. And we were looking for a partner to help us do that. And so working with Questar, with Jim Church from Questar, over the course of the school year, he put us in touch with Columbia Green Workforce New York. And they're stationed over at the Co-Green campus, and they actually share an office with folks from the Department of Labor. So what they do, they provide job matching services, resume building and review, helping with cover letters, interview coaching, and job placement subsidies. Those are the types of services they provide. But we thought, what can we do? We have students here who are interested, but they are uncertain on how to proceed. So we actually had Workforce New York come in to the high school, and the counselors identified a group of students who were in this position where they were workforce bound, but they had no jobs lined up. And they met with those students and kind of went over just a general of, hey, this is what we can do to support you. Then what we did is after that meeting, we followed up with all those students and we said, would you like to go over to the Columbia Green Workforce office where you can learn more and talk more specifically one-on-one with folks, and then maybe get you signed up and register for some job board inputs, and talk about some things that you're really specifically interested in. So we got 4 students out of those 10 who were interested, and we took a group over there. And on that day, folks from the New York State Department of Labor met with them. They went over apprenticeship opportunities that were like currently active that you could get into, the amount of time that it took, what was involved. You know, by the time I was done listening to the guy talk about apprenticeships, I was ready to change my profession. There's a lot of interesting things out there and a lot of really good opportunities. And I think they really had the students' attention when they were talking about it, because he said to them, what are you interested in? 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 He was talking directly to them and what they wanted to do. Somebody from New York State got up and talked about, hey, if you want to come and work for New York State, this is how you do it. Here's what we have available right now. You could be starting at $37,000 a year doing this. And right now they've waived, you know, these testing requirements. So if you want to do that, see me, right? They also did presentations on, you know, so there's job placement subsidies. That's certification funding, right? Okay, what do you want to do? Well, I want to work in IT. Okay, well, there's tests that you need to take to get certificates to work in IT. We can get you the funding to take those tests, and then after you take the test, those results go right to employers who contact us directly, and then we'll go over your resume with you to make sure your resume fits the job that you're applying for. Right, so we were able to get these students connected with these folks, and this is what they do full time. They're down there waiting for people like our bright, talented young students that are driven to come in and to get direction so they can be really successful post Greenville High School. So, as always, we've had questions throughout. That's fine. Thank you so much for it. I appreciate it. But thank you for your time tonight. If there are no other questions, I know Christy and I, you know, on your behalf, I'm glad that we got a chance to talk about some of the things that we've been doing here, because these are things that they're not really in the building improvement plans, and they're not in the data profiles, right? But this is real work that people in the high school are doing here, you know, and I'm happy to talk about it in public domain.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it, because at the end of the day, when the students are leaving the building, you know, are they prepared to be good citizens and people you like? And so it's really part of it. Thank you very much. All right, then I am going to, let's see, move us on to discussion points then. Here, all right, so what we had for the leadership roles, as I mentioned at our last meeting, one of the things that comes out is in July at our reorganization meeting, then we will be appointing 2 individuals for the leadership positions. We have the president, who is responsible for setting the agenda as well as running the business meetings. And then we appoint a vice president who is responsible for helping support the president and running the meetings if the president is not available. So every year we go through and the board, someone on the board will submit a nomination, and then we'll vote or so accordingly. At last meeting I said one of the things that might be helpful is to take the meeting before the reorganization and allow members to express a desire if they want to participate in the leadership meeting and so forth. So with that, I will turn it over. Why don't I just start? I'm happy to say I'm interested in participating. I'm interested in continuing to be the president if members would support that. I think there are 3 reasons that I'm interested. One, it really has been about a collaborative process. We don't agree on everything, and I think the best board's about having different perspectives. And it's being able to take those different perspectives, kind of mush them together and keep us moving in a productive way. And I think that one of the things that I love doing is fostering a lot of discussion, because one of us may think of 80% of the issues or something like that, Another person may think of another 80 issues, or 80% of the issues, and somewhere when you put them both together, hopefully we've covered 100%. But that only happens really through a collaborative effort and discussion amongst everyone. Part of that ability to discuss, or that collaborative effort, is creating an environment where people are confident that they can disagree, and I think that's really important. Both of those, I hope that, I believe that I've helped establish that, and I hope that you would agree with it. And then I think the third reason I'm interested in continuing as president is because of the transparency, both transparency with board members as well as with the community. So whether it's periodic emails that are sent, but no one replies because we don't want to have a meeting on email, but just kind of ongoing communication. Hey, these are the 3 things that you may not be aware of, and part of the reason for doing it. Is there anything that wants to be added to the agenda, and so forth. So that was my spiel, and I'll open up if anyone else is interested in the leadership role of president. Okay, so now I'd like to move us on to vice president for that. And if anyone is interested in being a vice president, please share.
I guess I'll share because I'm the current vice president. I'm interested in pursuing a role again. I've enjoyed getting to kind of shadow you in your very big but small shoes that I don't think I could ever fill, but being in that supportive role, and I think that I do bring a different perspective. I think that I'm pretty connected locally with a lot of the people and the parents, and I might bring things to the board that everybody doesn't necessarily know about, but I think that if it's important to one of us, it's important to all of us. I say that all the time, and even if we don't agree, we can hash things out, and I like to kind of be the person that says the things that everyone doesn't always want to say out loud. So other than that, I have the time to do it, and I don't think that everybody does have the time to kind of go to the leadership meetings. I enjoy helping you guys make the agendas and kind of getting to just sink further into this role as board member. But if anybody else does want a spot, I will step back.
Well, I think that the next step is, it's a vote. So it's not necessarily that you would step back, it's just that it's a democratic process, and so same thing. If someone is also interested in being president, then the whole idea was just to make it more transparent and like, this is the process. So not so much just for us here, because I think everyone here knows the process, but because it's recorded for the community and everything else. So that was really the reason behind why we're doing it. For that.
Yeah,
So,
I actually really agree. Like, I want everything we do to be out in the open if we can, as much as possible. I know that's not possible for every single thing, but just so there are no questions, I think this is a good idea moving forward.
I'm interested in Tracy and Angela continuing in their current positions.
thank you. Well, that will be for the July meeting then. Yes, sir.
Can I just add that? I mean, in terms of discussions and so forth, the president and the vice president do a lot for the board, but everybody who's on the board is also participating in committees and contributing outside those 2 positions. So although I might want to take on a role like that, it's not in my time frame to do it. And what I do now with my committees in terms of audit and so forth is consuming what time I have. So keep going, because you 2 right now are doing a fantastic job at this.
Thank you. And absolutely, all members are on multiple committees for that. So there's a fair amount of a time commitment. All right, so with that, then stay tuned for the reorganization meeting. All right, so summer school update. Michael Bennett is going to give us a brief update.
Yeah, so there were some questions around where are we at with our summer program, summer learning program. So I just want to
update everybody on where we're at. We're going to run our summer program much like we did last year, with the idea of doing it more as a tutoring model. We found that we had more interest in both from students and from our faculty in being able to teach and provide that level of service for students. It allows teachers to work with a smaller group of students, 2 to 3, 4 students that are focused really on what their areas of need are, and it allows us to really direct that instruction at a much more finer space. So this year, right now, we are looking at between 65 and 70 students at Ellis that will be served in this way. These students are being recommended based on everything from teacher referral to where they're at within the RTI process, using scores and things like that to identify those students. And at the middle school, high school, we're looking at about 55, 60 students who are going to be serviced in the same way, in which they're going to be able to be identified for specific areas of need, and then allow our teachers to work with them in a smaller area, smaller classroom. So it's kind of where we're at right now. We're pretty excited about the numbers this year. It's pretty equal to where we were at last year. And again, it allows flexibility for both the kids and the families to plan around vacations and those types of things, and for our teaching staff to be able to kind of set their times in the morning. We'll basically run it between 8 and 11 o'clock, I believe, for our students. So we're excited about, once again, offering that for our kids.
Any questions or anything about summer school? All right, then I'm going to turn this over to Angela, who's going to talk about the NYSBA resolutions.
So I'm the voting delegate currently for our NYSBA, and NYSBA is basically an advocacy group for the collective of the New York State school boards. So they lobby at the state and federal levels for us. There is a deadline of July 12th. If we as a board wanted to make a proposal, put a resolution out, I did send out an email. I didn't get any ideas from anybody yet, so it doesn't necessarily mean anything. I'm still going to go and vote at the meeting if I'm still in this position, unless anyone else wants to do this position. So basically the vote will be on October 10th, and it is a Zoom meeting. All the voting delegates go online. Last year, I believe it was 7 or 8 hours long, which was shocking to me. I was not prepared for that, but hopefully this year won't be such a controversial year, but we'll see, and I'm going to knock on wood. So that's really all I wanted to say, is that the July 12th is the deadline, October 10th is the vote. So if we do have any ideas of things that we want to propose as a resolution, we need to do that pretty quickly.
And these are the resolution that NYSBA votes on, that then uses in order to what they're going to support or what they're going to lobby against, correct?
Yeah, so everything that's submitted gets voted on, but NYSBA will say they either recommend or don't recommend them, or they have no opinion, so that there's a very long booklet that goes out to all board members. We can all discuss prior to the voting and decide how we want to vote as the time gets closer to that. We'll be very informed. It's just a lot of reading.
I think I did see something on NYSBA that they wanted to reduce the number of individuals if there were too many. So resolutions or something like that. Yes, so they recognize that last year was an outlier and they don't want to repeat it.
Yes, I think we were done. I want to say it was almost midnight by the time we were done. And I was thinking it was a board meeting night, and I think it started at 4, and I was like, oh, I'll get there by the board meeting. No, I did not. I was sitting at my desk till midnight.
Thank you for doing that.
Do it again.
Right, exactly. All right, then to Harrison Boyce, who is going to give us a student update.
All right, thank you. Well, this is just to say, we made it. Another wonderful school year is wrapping up. Just this week, as many of you may know, Regents exams are going to be coming to a close, as well as middle school and elementary and middle school classes and their exams will be ending as well. Again, as many of you may know, the 8th grade ceremony is tomorrow, and of course, this coming Friday, my class of 2024 is graduation. Can't believe it's already come to that. But anyways, as many of you may know, this is my last meeting as the student representative, and I have prepared some final words that I would like to share with you all. For this, I ask your permission if I may stand before the podium.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And just use the microphone, please.
Absolutely. Can you hear me? Okay, so good evening, Greenville administrators, faculty, union representatives, Mr. Bennett, superintendent, Greenville community, my fellow student community, and Board of Education. This year, I had the pleasure of sitting here and being a part of your work, learning a perspective other than my own, but most of all, serving as a voice of representation to my fellow student community. I have said this before, and I will again, I am and will always be grateful to Greenville in creating a role where students can be a voice of the student body and represent them. This includes serving in the eyes of our great district's core values: everyone learns, teaches, and belongs. These values I hold dear as they define our great district. Showing Spartan strong decorum, showing self-control, taking action, responding respectfully, offering acceptance, never giving up, and growing together is what makes Greenville the school it is and helps build that sense of community I know we have. Over the course of my time here as a student, I have seen these qualities amongst my fellow peers as they have shown me what it is like to be Spartan strong, and I have as well. That's the teaching, that's the learning, and that's what makes it beautiful. What I love most about this district are the opportunities students have here. This includes our partnership with Questar BOCES, where students learn trades hands-on experience, our athletic program, the FFA, mental health advocates, SAD, the Diversity Club, and many more wonderful extracurriculars. Even though I have not participated in these stated activities and the many more, I admire the work they do for the student body. Lastly, I may add, our top-notch in-school electives that are available for all students in our IB AP program where students can earn credit. With these great opportunities comes Greenville Great Services. I'm talking about how privileged we are to have such efficient IT equipment in the classroom and the individual computers that are provided for all students and faculty. To add to this, I am so thankful to Greenville. Greenville can now say we have free lunches for all students. The burden that has released from the families is so helpful. I want to thank everyone involved in that for making that a reality, and I hope that's something that will continue in our future. So everyone, I cannot tell you how educational this position has been for me. Learning about school governance and our budget is very important, but also what I find the most meaning to this is a chance to meet students from across the buildings, both school buildings, getting to meet students younger than me, and building that connection that they can look to me as someone who is here to help, someone who cares and wants to make a difference. I want to thank our administrators, our billing administrators, for all they do for the students in creating a supportive, healthy, and safe environment. I want to thank our Board of Education for putting the students' education and learning first. Your work is much appreciated and enhancing our education here at Greenville. I know he's not here, but I would like to also give some recognition to my predecessor, Hunter Smigel, who him being the first student to start off in this position, I feel his dedication and leadership really paved a successful way for future running students such as myself and those who I hope come after me. I need to thank Mr. Outram, our Director of Facilities, and his crew and his cleaning crew for always getting our board meetings set up for us in a timely fashion and ready for you to do your work. I don't take that recognition very lightly. Mr. Outram's crew is not just custodians to me. For 2 summers, I've worked with them, and this summer I will be doing it once again and being a part of the great work they do for our school for the summertime, and I'm excited to be a part of it again. I always say, even though I'm graduating and leaving my position here on the board, I still have much left. I still have much work left to do here at Greenville. I also now would like to thank Mr. Bennett, our superintendent, for being such an inspirational, kind, and impeccable leader to our great district. Long story short, 3 Decembers ago, I served on the student committee, which was part of an abundance of other committees that took place in Mr. Bennett's hiring. And after his interview, I felt he was going to bring so much to the Greenville table, and we really made a great choice. Mr. Bennett, congratulations on all your accomplishments here at Greenville, and best of luck on your future accomplishments. Now, lastly, everyone, I would like to end here with more positivity. How do I see the future of our school? I remain so optimistic for an even brighter future for Greenville. The guidance of our district schools, community, culture, and curriculum. I said that in wrong order, I do apologize. But just what they promote will move our district into the future. And, excuse me, we've been through so much here, COVID being the biggest obstacle now. But look, we made it, and look how far our district has come. Now, I will be graduating, leaving this place I saw home for 7 years. What I see in future school years is a place of immense opportunity. I see a student board position growing more and more. I see a place where everyone learns, teaches, and belongs. And I see a school where all students thrive and are encouraged to do their best here in school and beyond. I am so proud to have been a part of the Greenville family. This district and everyone here will remain in my heart forever. Farewell, Board of Education. Farewell. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harrison. That was beautifully said. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Young. It's really been an honor. Thank you.
Harrison, I will just, again, at the bottom of my heart, thank you for the work and the service you've done. But I will tell you that you just made my speech Friday very difficult to top. Thank you very much.
Well said, Mr. Bennett. And I just want to lastly, I can't believe I just forgot to mention this too. This is a really big one, and I had it in my mind, and I completely forgot. But I really want to thank the students of GCS for putting me here. And it really was, it's been such an honor to be their voice and represent them. And their support for me really means a lot. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Beautifully said. All right, now we're going to get on to the boring action items.
Yeah.
I know, exactly. I know, exactly. So the first, I need a motion to accept the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Angela, I need a second. Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the finance reports for the month ending June 30th, 2024, which really was board transfers.
Angela, Dave,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
Eric and Angela.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pages were stuck. I need a motion to approve the transfer to capital reserve.
Kelly and Eric.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the transfer to the NYSTR RS Retirement Contribution Reserve Subfund.
Eric, Kelly,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and the Center for Spectrum Services for the school year program July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Angela and Kelly,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and the Center for Discovery for the period of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025.
Dave and Angela,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve, to extend the contract between the Greenville Central School District and Higher Physical Therapy for physical therapy services from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026.
Dave and Kelly.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to award the DCMO BOCES milk bid for Hudson Valley Fresh and the ice cream bid to Glacier Point Gillette.
Angela and Eric.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to accept a donation to the Greenville Central School District from the Greenville Athletic Association in the amount of $3,541 for a curved backboard.
Eric, I need a second. Angela,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve surplus items.
Eric and Angela.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much for the action items. All right, input items for the discussion at next meeting. Does anyone have any topics that they would like to see?
I don't have an input for the next meeting, but I'd like to just take a second. Mr. Lopez, I wanted to say thank you to you for stepping in this year. I'm disappointed that our time is almost up with you, but watching the ceremony this morning, you've done an amazing job, and those kids have absolutely grown to adore you in a very quick time frame. Thank you for stepping in and taking the helm down at the elementary school.
All right, so if there are no other topics, then we have a couple of reminders. We have July 1st and 2nd, which is a school improvement workshop. If any board members are interested, please see Matt and let him know that you're participating. We have our July 8th reorganization, followed by a business meeting. We have the July 29th board leadership development. There will be some training involved, as well as a discussion for next year's goals. And then the August 19th board meeting. Okay, and then we have the closing open forum. Please note that the same guidelines apply as stated during the first open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak? And I'm assuming we don't have any emails, all right. Thank you very much. Then if I could have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss personnel matters concerning the employment of a particular person or persons.
Okay, I have Dave and Angela.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
I want a picture with Harrison.
Did I do?
I want a picture with Harrison, all of us.
Oh, all of us, sure, absolutely.
Okay. Is that okay?
No, that'd be great.